This is a News 4 Today Newsbreak.
7:56 is the time, 4 minutes before 8 o'clock on this Thursday, October 10th, 2002, and we have some much-needed rain falling around the region. We'll take a look at our forecast coming up shortly. We'll also look at how the rain is affecting our rush hours. I'm Barbara Harrison. In the news, Montgomery County Police Chief Charles Moose has just finished the first briefing of the day on the sniper attacks. News 4's Audrey Barnes joins us live from police headquarters in Rockville. Audrey, good morning again.
Good morning, Barbara. Chief Moose just told us that members of the regional task force from here in Montgomery County are now in Prince William County to help authorities investigate a shooting there. A man was shot and killed as he filled up his gas tank last night. And at his news briefing just moments ago, Chief Moose addressed questions about whether or not that shooting is related to the serial sniper attacks.
At this point, we do not have hard evidence to say that the situation is linked or not linked. We will continue to address that. We will continue to work this case. At the time that we are willing to say that it is linked or not linked, we will certainly come forward with that information.
Now, police did say that they are looking for a white Dodge Caravan seen leaving the scene of that Manassas shooting. They also gave out a new regional hotline number. Here's the number that you need to call. It's 1-888-324-9800. Those calls will be answered by FBI agents at the Washington field office. Barbara, back to you.
All right, thank you, Audrey. And we'll be right back with a look at our forecast and at traffic. Stay with us.
This News 4 Today Newsbreak sponsored by Mattress Warehouse, carrying all the name brands at the lowest.
Rain showers in the area right now. Temperatures holding firm at 61 degrees right now. Winds are light from the north and west, less than 10 miles per hour. The forecast today, rain continuing throughout the day. Temperatures in the mid-60s, and it does look like more rain moves in tomorrow. Now for traffic, here's Jerry.
Hey, Clay, the trip south along Interstate 270 this morning, very heavy, very slow from Frederick most of the way down because of the rain, and the trip north along 395, an additional problem with an accident up near the Pentagon. Back to you.
Thank you both. Prince William County Police Chief Charlie Dean plans to hold a news conference at 9 o'clock this morning to talk about last night's fatal shooting in Manassas. We will carry that live at 9 o'clock. We'll be back in 25 minutes with another update.
We're starting it up at 8 o'clock on a Thursday morning, the 10th of October, 2002. Rolling Stones running hot again, warming up our visitors outside our studio and jumping to near the top of the charts with their newest album, 40 Licks. Of course, the Stones are on tour across the country. Check them out if you get a chance. That debuts, by the way, that song at number 2 on the Billboard 200 album charts this week, behind only Elvis Presley's recent release. How strange is that? Wow. Got Elvis and the Stones leading the Billboard Top 200.
And both are alive.
According to some. Anyway, everything old is new again, or maybe they're forever young, but that's another segment. Meantime, back in Studio 1A, I'm Matt Lauer alongside Katie Kirk and Al Roker, and coming up in this half hour, a new way to remember one of the fallen heroes of September 11th. Several years ago, firefighter Terry Farrell earned the title of hero in a very quiet but meaningful way. He came up as a bone marrow match to a little girl from Nevada. Well, he saved her life. We'll meet her in a few minutes and hear what Terry's family is doing this weekend in his memory.
Then a very interesting story. The Miss World contest has gotten political, and it's not about who's competing. It's about a death sentence given to a woman in Nigeria for committing adultery. We're going to have details in just a moment, a case that the whole world is watching. But first, more of our big announcement today. It's the start of our special search for today's superstar. It's Molly Shannon, right? It's a musical extravaganza out on the plaza. 6 finalists compete for 4 weeks, and you get to choose your favorite by voting on our website. The winner gets a live concert out on the plaza accompanied by a live band and a recording session courtesy of Warner Records.
And here's how to apply. Log on to today.msnbc.com to read the complete list of rules. You fill out the Today's Superstar application and release form. That's important. Make sure to answer every question. Then make your entry tape. Each participant needs to sing 2 songs without background music. No more than 1 minute of each song, please. And you can send it to us on a VHS tape. One song you can choose on your own. The other needs to come from a list that you'll find on our website.
We reserve the right to enjoy the tape for our own personal amusement.
Yeah. Then send your VHS tape along with your application and release form to NBC Today, care of today's superstar, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, room 380 East, New York, New York, 10112. I went through that address quickly. It's on our website. All rules are at the website as well, including eligibility. And sorry, folks, this is not open to singers who already have recording or management contracts. One last piece of advice to you budding stars. Get your tape in fast. We're working quickly to find the 6 finalists, and we'll be choosing them on a first-come, first-served basis.
I got
Good luck
all of
there.
that except right after we've got
Here's
a
how
big
to-
announcement.
Yeah, right.
Could you repeat that again?
Again, Al, you can find all of this information on today.msnbc.com. It ought to be great fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Do we have to listen to the tapes, or is there another?
You have
Absolutely.
to personally review all of them. No,
Okay.
I think we've got a whole committee of experts who are charged with that, and we're going to have some fun judges who are going to be stopping by as well.
great.
So it should be a lot of fun. But first, let's turn to the news desk where Ann has the morning's top stories. Ann, good morning again.
Good morning again to you, Katie Metnell, and to all of you this morning. In the news this morning, the serial sniper may have struck again. A man was shot to death last night after filling his tank at a gas station in Manassas, about 30 miles outside Washington, D.C. Authorities say the murder has obvious similarities to at least 2 earlier attacks. According to eyewitnesses, a white Dodge Caravan sped away from the scene with perhaps 1 or 2 white men in it. This morning, authorities set up one consolidated tip line for the public to call with any information about the sniper shootings in the Washington, D.C. area. That number, as you can see on your screen, is 1-888-324-9800. 3 U.S. Marines were wounded in Kuwait today during war games. It happened when a live bomb or mine exploded on a training range. A U.S. military spokesman says it appears to be an accident and none of the injuries are life-threatening. A suicide bomber blew himself up near Tel Aviv today after unsuccessfully trying to board a bus filled with soldiers. The blast killed an elderly woman and injured several others. The House of Representatives is set to vote later today on a resolution giving President Bush the go-ahead to use force in Iraq. It's expected to be approved by a wide bipartisan margin. Today in Havana, military and political leaders from the U.S., Russia, and Cuba are starting to gather for a conference to study the lessons of the Cuban Missile Crisis. That crisis 40 years ago brought this world close to nuclear war. NBC's chief foreign affairs correspondent Andrea Mitchell is in Havana this morning with more on this story. Andrea, good morning.
Good morning, Ann. Well, 40 years after that Cuban Missile Crisis, newly uncovered documents show just how close the U.S. and Soviets came to nuclear war.
In Soviet missile bases now overgrown with weeds, the remains of a nuclear arsenal and this echo of a Cold War confrontation between President John F. Kennedy, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev, and a young Fidel Castro. The missiles already on the island before they were discovered by CIA spy planes.
Kennedy was determined on 2 things. One, to get the missiles out, and the other, to get them out peacefully.
Castro, assuming the Americans would invade Cuba, urged the Soviets to attack the U.S. first.
He wrote a letter to Khrushchev saying the Americans are going to invade within 24 to 48 hours. And when that happens, we're all dead, you'll be next. Don't let them do it to you. Use your nukes.
Kennedy ordered a naval blockade of Soviet ships.
It left a way open to Mr. Khrushchev, and in this age of nuclear weapons, that's very important.
Kennedy even asked his staff to work up a speech in case of an attack on Cuba. It said the United States cannot tolerate a nuclear threat, quote, especially when the trigger appears to be in the hands of a violent and unstable revolutionary leader.
The level of tension at the height of the crisis was so thick you could cut it with a knife.
It was only at the very last moment that the Soviets backed down. But tomorrow, Americans, Cubans, and Russians will be gathering here to share their personal notes on just how dangerous this nuclear showdown was. Ann.
NBC's Andrea Mitchell. Andrea, thank you for your report this morning. And officials are assessing the damage this morning, one day after a tornado ripped through a residential area in southern Louisiana. The twister damaged up to 30 homes, at least 4 of them severely. But there are no injuries being reported. It is now 8:07 and time for today's weather. And Al outside.
Today's weather is brought to you by Kellogg's Special K Red Berries. Looking good, never tasted so great.
And good morning. We got a lot of school kids here from all over New York City, and it's all part of After School for All. What's this about?
National Lights On After School Day. This is Kimber Reed
I'm the after school ambassador.
What is that?
I am in support of after school programs which provide a safe environment, provide academic enrichment, and help working families.
And this is all going on all today around the country?
Yeah, this is a Lights On event. It's sponsored by JCPenney, and it's a nationwide series of rallies in support of after school.
All right, where do you go to school, young man? IS 126 in Queens. Good looking young man. I like that. All right. Let's check your weather, see what's going on. And we'll show you for today. We've got a lot of wet weather from the Gulf Coast all the way into the mid-Atlantic states, sliding to the northeast, clouds in the northwest with a few showers here and there, fog Southern California, and we've also got hit or miss thunderstorms down around the Gulf Coast. Tropical Depression Kyle causing a lot of wave action along the eastern coast, northeastern coast of Florida. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Good morning, everyone. Meteorologist Clay Anderson. Well, the soggy weather is just beginning. Digital Doppler XT picking up the raindrops as they move in from the west to the east, coming down from 270, coming in from I-66 and down I-95. The rain, some of it is heavy, continues to move across the area. We will keep our eye on heavy amounts of rain now coming from Annapolis. Here's a forecast, everyone, for the area today. Temperatures in the mid-60s, winds from the east at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. More rain on Friday.
And look, it's the Osbournes. Not the Osbournes. They're here for some Osbournes retirement, right? All right, there you go. All right, let's head back inside to Matt.
All right, Al, thank you very much. 8 minutes now, 9 minutes after the hour on a Thursday morning. We're back right after this.
From President Clinton to Miss World, high-profile individuals have added their voices to an international outcry over a death sentence imposed on a woman in Nigeria. NBC's Chip Reed has her story.
In a small village in northern Nigeria, all eyes are on Amina Lawal. Her baby girl, Wasila, was born last March when Amina had been divorced for more than a year. Suspecting adultery, a deadly serious crime here, neighbors reported her to the authorities. She was tried, found guilty, and sentenced to death by stoning. The sentence to be imposed after she finishes breastfeeding her baby in about a year. Amina, 31, mother of 4, seems resigned, ready to accept her punishment, even blaming herself. I feel very sad, she says, because I have caused so much anguish to myself and my family. She recently appealed the sentence, but lost. The judges affirmed the strict interpretation of Islamic law known as Sharia that has taken root in northern Nigeria in the past 2 years. Amina is not the first. This woman's sentence of death by stoning for adultery was reversed earlier this year after storms of protest from human rights groups.
This is an extremely cruel and inhumane punishment, to actually bury somebody up to the neck and have people throw stones at them, inflicting agony on that person until they are dead.
While Amina may have accepted that fate, activists from around the world have taken up her cause, determined to save her. Former President Clinton pleaded for her life during a recent visit to Nigeria. And from an unexpected quarter, Miss World, Agbani Darego from Nigeria says she and the vast majority of her countrymen oppose the punishment. She plans to make her views known later this year when the pageant is held in Nigeria.
I wouldn't want to shy away. I want to speak about it and let them know that we all support Amina.
Some European contestants plan to boycott the Nigeria competition if Amina's sentence is not reversed. But the chairman of Miss World says a boycott would be a mistake.
Let's go in and face this thing and stand together and say, we find this awful, we find it wrong, we wish you would forgive Amina.
Amina still has 3 appeals to go, 2 of those at the federal level where laws prohibit death by stoning. That leaves Amina's attorney, Hawa Ibrahim, hopeful that her client will be spared. But Ibrahim already has 2 other clients facing death by stoning for adultery, 1 female, 1 male, and she worries about where Nigeria is heading.
We do not want the first case to take place. We can stand there, but no stopping.
Ibrahim says Nigeria is at a critical crossroads, and the path it takes could be partly determined by the fate of Amina Lawal. For today, Chip Reed, NBC News, London.
And we'll be back with more of Today right after this.
We have heard a lot about the ultimate sacrifice so many members of the Fire Department of New York made on September 11th. But one firefighter in particular was considered a hero long before that fateful day. Before Terry Farrell lost his life, he gave a little girl a new chance at hers.
Here I'm looking at this real live angel.
Sherry Peterson is talking about the first time she met New York firefighter Terry Farrell. Terry saved her daughter Chantel's life, not by a heroic act on the job, but off the job.
The ultimate goal is if you got a chance to save somebody's life, I just do what I have to do.
In 1989, shortly after joining the New York Fire Department, Terry volunteered to be tested as a bone marrow donor. Nearly 3 years later, he was notified that he was a positive match, a 1 in 20,000 chance.
You really don't think about it, and also one day you get the phone call. If I can give somebody a second chance, why not at least give them a second chance? Why cut them short?
At age 3, she was diagnosed with aplastic anemia, and at age 5 with T-cell lymphoma, both potentially deadly.
Without the bone marrow transplant, then she would have only have had maybe another month to live.
The transplant took place in July 1993. Bone marrow registry rules require donors and recipients wait at least 1 year before making contact. 1 year later, Sherry Peterson received Terry's contact information and called him.
I got the answering machine, and so I started to leave a message, and I remember just losing it, just starting to cry, and him picking up the phone.
I asked how Chantel was doing. He said, well, she's running up and down the block. I said, like a normal 6-year-old.
He said, you only need to say thank you once. He says that's all it needs. Oh, he has to hear it. He had to hear it all the time, though, because, I mean, you can't say that enough.
Chantel and her family flew to New York City to meet the donor Chantel called my Mr. Nice Man. Inside Edition learned about Terry's kind-heartedness and recorded the meeting. Terry hadn't told anyone about the transplant, not even his family.
He was a pretty low-key guy. He was satisfied being in the shadows, never really liked to draw attention to himself. So he was kind of embarrassed about all the attention that this drew.
I don't go out and start telling everybody, yeah, pat me on the back, I'm a great guy here. It's like, because there's people who know I'm not that great all the time.
But Terry was proud of the deed he had done, calling it a no-brainer.
It feels good to know you did something you chose to do, and somebody's alive today because you did it. We work in a dangerous profession, and the one day you might walk out the door, you might not come home again.
Terry Farrell was with Rescue Company 4, which lost 9 firefighters on 9/11. This weekend, Terry's family is organizing a bone marrow drive in his honor. His brother, Dennis Farrell, is here along with Chantel Peterson and her mother, Sherry. Good morning to all of you. Nice to see you. Chantel, tell me about the first time you met Terry. What was he like?
Yeah, Terry was a great guy. When I walked into the room to give him a hug, I'm like, okay, here he is. I'm meeting him, So, he was my hero. So I wasn't jealous or embarrassed, or not jealous, but embarrassed to walk in there. So, I gave my hero a hug, and without him, I wouldn't be living today.
When you'd probably thought about this person for a while. Was he the type of guy you pictured, and when you had thought about him for that year?
Yeah, Terry was even more than what I had pictured.
Did he ever tell you why he did this for you, a total stranger?
He to give me a second chance at life.
Just out of generosity and caring. Yeah. Sherry, when 9/11 occurred and Terry was missing in those buildings, what was that like for you at home?
It was absolutely devastating. We were just in a state of shock with the rest of the world. Disbelief. And just, I had like an empty hole.
Chantel, you say when you saw those buildings come down or heard they came down, you immediately thought of Terry, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
What did you think he would be doing at that time?
Saving other people's lives, showing, I imagine him showing the people the way out, so he could also give them a second chance at life.
Dennis, first of all, our condolences to your family.
Thank you.
And I thank you for being here. When did you first find out that Terry had helped save Chantel's life?
Well, Terry was not a personal rah-rah person. He had called me one evening and asked, "Can you tape a show that's going to be on TV tonight?" I believe it was Inside Edition. And I asked him, "Why don't you just do it yourself?" He says, "Well, my VCR is broken." I said, "Well, what's this all about?" And he said, "Well," he said something about a little girl and bone marrow, and I have to run, Dennis. I have to be someplace. And later that night, my wife and I were sitting watching TV, and I remember calling some of my other brothers, and they were watching TV, and we saw this beautiful story unfold about the, and we were a little taken back that he had never said anything, but that was Terry. Terry would not be someone to say, here's what I did, or look what I did. It was enough to Terry just to have done it.
Chantel, you received the bone marrow transplant when you were, what, 6 years old?
5.
5 years old. You're 14 now?
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm great. Good.
Yeah,
I can act.
Leading a normal life?
Yeah.
Going to school and enjoying yourself?
Yeah.
How often do you think of Terry, Sherry?
Every day. Every day. There's never been a day gone by since she had her transplant that we haven't thought of him.
Dennis, I want to mention that of the 343 firefighters who were killed on September 11th, 144 of them were on the National Bone Marrow Donor Registry. 3, including your brother, had already given bone marrow.
Right.
Take me through the process of what it takes to become a donor.
Well, anybody who's ever given blood, it's not dissimilar to that. It's you go in, a small vial of blood is taken. It's then whatever tests have to be done to ascertain your viability as a donor. You're then put a part of the national database, which now includes approximately 4.8 million people. And should you be a match, you would be then later contacted and asked if you would be willing to go through the transplant procedure.
And although I've heard there is a minor amount of discomfort in donating bone marrow, it is not what people have said over the years, a terribly uncomfortable procedure.
No, that's correct. I think there's an image of what it must be like, and the image is sort of not true to the event. It's when you undergo the procedure, you're put under general anesthesia. It's a short period of time. The bone marrow is extracted, and you may have some discomfort for a couple of days.
And you can certainly save a life, as we've seen here today. Dennis, Chantel, Sherry, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Our best to all your families. We're back.
This is a News 4 Today news break.
8:25 is our time right now, 63 degrees. We're looking at cloudy, rainy skies here in the nation's capital. Good morning to you. I'm Joe Krebs on this 10th day of October 2002. And in the News 4 Today, we're continuing to watch developments in the search for the sniper killer who has already killed 6 people and injured 2 others in the Washington area and may have struck again. There was another shooting in Manassas, Virginia last night. Police talked about that this morning. News 4's Audrey Barnes is live at Montgomery County Police Headquarters now with the latest. Morning, Audrey.
Good morning, Joe. At his news briefing this morning, Montgomery County Police Chief Charles Moose says right now there is no hard evidence linking the Manassas shooting to the serial sniper. But several dozen Virginia police officers are now conducting a grid search in that area. They are about 150 yards from the gas station where a man was gunned down as he filled up his tank. This is across Sudley Road in a tree-lined stretch of restaurants and other businesses out there. They're going shoulder to shoulder looking for evidence. Now, at his news briefing, Chief Moose talked about the role of the media, police, and the community as the search continues.
And people in Montgomery County want everyone that has anything to do with this case, whether they're police, federal agencies, community members, media. The real message I heard is that they really want us all to work together. And if we're spending energy fighting, then they're feeling like we're not focused on keeping them safe.
They also announced a new regional hotline that's up and operating this morning. It's 1-888-324-9800. That line is being manned by FBI agents from the Washington field office. Joe, back to you.
Audrey, thanks very much. We'll take a break now, come back and look at our weather forecast and the rush hours. Stay with us.
Rain showers across the entire area today into tomorrow. Make sure you keep your umbrellas handy. The numbers today, 67, 66 tomorrow, and Saturday, a break. Now for traffic, here's Jerry Edwards.
Clay, the outer loop of the Beltway is jammed from at least College Park to Silver Spring. 95 northbound, an accident in Springfield has been cleared, but we're jammed Woodbridge to the 14th. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Jerry. Reminder, police are continuing to investigate that shooting in Manassas. Police down there will be holding a news conference live at 9 o'clock. We'll carry that live here on NBC4. Stay with us.
We're back at 8:30 on this Thursday morning. It's the 10th day of October, the year 2002, and that's Bon Jovi singing It's My Life from the album Crush. Tomorrow, Bon Jovi will ride in from Jersey to rock the plaza. Meanwhile, if you want your own set of screaming fans, you too can have a concert of your own out here on the plaza, all part of our big new event, Today's Superstar. And you can find out how to enter.
Excuse me.
What was that? Rip off? Yeah. You can find out all about how you can enter, how you can send a tape of your singing, and we can do anything you want to with that tape. That's just one little caveat. But you can go to our website and get all the details. Meanwhile, I'm Katie Couric out on the plaza with Matt Lauer. You wanted to have a brief
Mary, put the
footnote?
website thing up again because I want to tell you if you'd like to find out more about the Terry Farrell Memorial Bone Marrow Drive on Long Island this weekend or about becoming a bone marrow donor in general, go to the website at today.msnbc.com and find out about it. What a great cause.
Yeah, and that was a wonderful story.
Nice.
Meanwhile, coming up in this half hour, something much lighter and frothier. Stephen Kojikaru has his eyes on styles, as usual. Celine Dion, Mariah Carey, and the Cox Arquettes are all in his sights. He's here to dish the dirt and pay out some compliments, too.
Good for a change, which is nice. Also, we're going to go clowning around with Diane Keaton, and we'll meet the star of the new NBC sitcom, Good Morning Miami.
All right, all that. But first, we're going to head on the other side of the plaza for a check of the weather with Mr. Roker. Hi, Al.
Hey, guys, how you doing? We're down here at the other end, as you mentioned, and we've got some kids here, Iowa 4th and 5th graders. You made something for New York's bravest and finest. That's very nice. Nice little quilt. What's your name?
Elizabeth.
And?
Kelly.
Well, thank you for coming down. We appreciate that. And some folks here from Kansas City. And nice hats. Very nice hats. Let's check the weather, see what's going on, and we're going to show you that basically for today, afternoon highs, we see temperatures in the 50s and 60s, hundreds down through the southwest, 80s and 90s elsewhere. Rest of the day, well, you can expect to see windy conditions and rainy conditions down through the southeast. We're looking at some sunshine in the Pacific Northwest. Mid-Atlantic states looking at a lot of wet weather as well. What's your name, sir?
Dale Hosman.
What's your name?
Dale Hosman.
Dale, and who did you date in high school?
Katie's mom. Katie's mom.
Katie's mom? You dated Katie's mom in high school? Katie,
Wait,
this could have been your dad. Come
Is
on.
that gentleman are you a Benson Bunny? Did you go to school in Omaha, Nebraska?
Yes.
Oh, you're kidding.
That's right. Look at this.
Well, what was my mom like in high school?
Hey, you are the best grandmother I ever saw in my
Oh,
life.
my Nana. Yeah, that's right. Clara Haney. Oh,
When did you date?
When I was in high school.
In high school. Wow.
wow. What's your name, sir?
Dale Hosman.
Well, so nice to see you. I hope my mom's watching. She's probably so embarrassed right now.
Ooh, wow.
And I'm sorry y'all didn't stay together, but I love my dad.
That's true.
So.
But she was pretty hot though, wasn't she? Yeah.
My mom was really hot.
I know.
She really was.
We've heard that.
Okay, are we done? Can
I think that's what's going on around the country, and this is your life, Mrs. Gurrick. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods. Thanks for coming down.
Good morning, everyone. Meteorologist Clay Anderson. We are closing in on almost a quarter of an inch of rain has already fallen here at our studios in Northwest Washington, and there is more where that came from. Regional radar picking up the showers. Now a train, which means it starts out from the west, moves into the east. A wet Thursday is on tap, and a wet Friday as well. Here are the numbers, everyone. Temperatures will not be changing much over the next couple of days. Maybe a raindrop for Saturday morning as well. Stay dry, everyone.
And we got a cute little set of pumpkins here. Who's this?
This is Harrison.
And?
Tessa.
And?
Annie.
All right. They're cousins, right?
Yes.
All right. Thanks for bringing them down. Let's head down to the Great Pumpkin, Willard Scott, down in Washington, D.C. How are you, sir?
Hey, listen, the best news out of this city right now is it's raining, and it couldn't be nicer. And this is Katie Couric's grandfather. I didn't know, and I see the whole family on this program. James Billington is the Librarian of Congress, the greatest institution in the nation's capital, having the 2002 National Book Festival. I've got a library book from Alexandria Library I took out in 1937. Can you get me a deal? I have to take it back. I think I owe a few bucks on it.
I think they'd be grateful to get it back. Just get it back.
Hey, listen, you're having a great festival on Saturday. A lot of personalities will be there and athletes, and the whole thing is to promote reading books, right?
Promote reading. Yeah, there's 40 million Americans, adults, that can't read well enough to help their kids with homework. Well, come to the National Book Festival, 10 to 6 o'clock, all day Saturday. It's absolutely free.
West Lawn of the Capitol.
West Lawn of the Capitol. 70 great American writers. There'll be 2 whole pavilions just for kids. We'll have the biggest children's book in the world,
How big is it?
650 pounds, 8 by 6. We'll have the smallest NBA basketball player in the Hall of Fame, Tiny Archibald. You'll have Clifford the Big Red Dog and
He's
the author
my
Norman
favorite.
Birdwell.
Yeah.
You'll have Dave McCullough. You'll have the Poet Laureate of the United States. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to show how reading is important, and books are just wonderful. Laura Bush has originated this after her Texas Book Festival, and the Library of Congress, which is the biggest library in the world, is going to reflect all the variety of American writers and creators and so forth. So it'll be a lot of fun. It's all free. Bring the family and friends.
Thank you, James.
Rain or shine.
Rain or
doesn't matter.
shine. That's-
Doesn't matter.
that's our kind of book
11
show.
pavilions. Come one, come all.
West Lawn of the Capitol this Saturday. Check it out and check out the website. Happy birthday from Smuckers. You're not
Nina Ellis traveled the country to interview centenarians, people 100 or older, for a series for National Public Radio. She's now preserved their stories in a new book called If I Live to Be 100, Lessons from Centenarians. Nina Ellis, good morning. This was a project you planned in the year 2000, sort of a historical retrospective.
That's right.
To NPR.
Right.
It wasn't what you expected
Not at all.
it to be.
No, I thought I was going to go around the country and talk to people who are 100 years old and gather their memories about the 20th century and do a series about the 20th century. And when I got to talking to them, I realized that I was completely missing the boat.
What was the real story?
The real story was what it's like to be 100 years old. That was what it was for me, because I found people who were completely active, engaged with the world. Some of them were working, most of them were living in their own homes. I had stumbled upon a group of people who had never had major illnesses at 100 years old.
2 of them were married to each other, Sadie and Gilbert Hill. They were married for 81 years before Sadie passed away. Tell us about them.
Sadie and Gilbert lived independently in their own home in Central Florida. They'd been coming down there since 1951. They were originally from farmers from Vermont, but they were completely nonchalant about their long lives. They had no real insight into how they got that old or how their marriage had lasted that long.
Well, then what insight did you gain from being with them?
It was obvious to me how much they had completely merged together and what a tight couple they were.
You also heard and spoke to Anna Wilmot, who is 104, and we actually have a clip of your interview with her. Let's take a listen.
And what I do, I come out here and I sit in the sun.
What a nice
and
view.
And when you get out here, no interference, nobody's around, you can come out here and skinny dip.
Do you do that?
Yep.
You do?
I do.
Okay. Why not?
Only if it's foggy and there's no fishermen around. I'm telling you, I'm something.
Now we know why she's living to be 104. It's because she's got a great sense of humor, a lot of fun, and she also rows every day.
When it's warm enough, she goes out every day. I went to Anna's 104th birthday party last August, and there were 100 people there. She stood up in front of the crowd and she said, "Now I know a lot of you are getting really tired of coming to my birthday parties, but you better get used to it because I'm going to be around for a lot longer."
Good for her.
Yeah, she has a great positive attitude.
R.L. Stamper. He's got a very interesting story. He was a preacher for 70 years, and at the age of 104, he gets married to his 4th wife. Tell us the story of how that happened.
I met R.L. Stamper when he was only 103, and he was very lonely. His 3rd wife had passed away the year before, and he was having a real tough time because he was stuck in the house, and he wanted to get out and save souls, was what he said. So I put the interview on the radio, and during the interview he said he wanted a wife. He needed a companion, he said. And he got a lot of phone calls from listeners. And one lady went to visit him 5 times in the next month. He sent her a plane ticket. And then one morning, like 6 months later, I got a phone call And somebody said, you got to come to Oklahoma because they're getting married
The
tonight.
same woman who called in. Oh my goodness.
So they got married. And they had, by all accounts, a wonderful 9 months together. He passed away just short of his 105th birthday, but their kids said that they were like teenagers in love. They were totally devoted to each other.
Ruth Ellis, who lived to be 101, said her motto was, "You're never too old to love."
Ruth was an amazing role model for a lot of women in the Detroit area. She was the oldest openly gay African-American woman in this country at the time that I met her, and a movie had been made about her life, and she was traveling around speaking to people, and a lot to young people, and her message was always that you should go out and get to know an older person, take them out to lunch, take them to a movie once in a while, because they have problems with isolation, which was not Ruth's problem. Ruth was adopted more or less by a group of women in the Detroit area who needed a role model for how to age successfully. And for 20 years, the last 20 years of her life, she went everywhere she wanted to go. They celebrated her birthdays. They would collect money to send her on vacation. And she was a spokesperson for
Who
this group.
doesn't need a role model on how to age successfully?
I think we all
How
do.
have you been benefited from meeting these people?
It's really changed my life in every way I could imagine. These people gave me a vision for a life that I never had before. They were happy, they were outgoing. Life at 100 is not easy. They have a lot of aches and pains, but they have an optimistic attitude that gets them through a lot of the hard times.
And Ellis, thank you for passing on
Thank
what you
you.
learned in this book, and we should tell people that you can read an excerpt from If I Live to Be 100 on our website at today.msnbc.com. And we're back in a moment, but first, this is Today on NBC.